I am committed to stop drugs before I go out. Which means to say, Father, Monsignor, Bishop, which means to say, marami pang patayan to. Kasi lumalaban talaga yan.
2017 begins with more of the Duterte administration's drug war. But that's not the Philippines' only war. There's the war on President Duterte's critics.
Laban sa mga araw-araw na pagpatay at mga iba pa na mga pagkikipit, paniniil, itong rehimen Duterte.
And the most challenging, war in Marawi City. Duterte also shows off his diplomatic skills, hosting world leaders in this year's ASEAN summit, and in between, gripping the nation at different times, traffic, transportation, a controversial dengue vaccine, and a hazing death. Join me as we look back at this year's top stories. President Rodrigo Duterte continues to wage his bloody war on drugs. But police abuses force him to remove the Philippine National Police from the front lines of his anti-drug campaign. The first time is in January after public outrage over the kidnapping and murder of South Korean businessman Ji Ik-ju inside Camp Crame. Just a month later, Duterte allows the police to return. But by mid-year, the police are again slammed for several one-time big-time operations in Bulacan and Metro Manila, and the killings of several teenagers by Caloocan City policemen. The deaths of 17-year-old Kian de los Santos and 19-year-old Carl Arnaiz, who both allegedly fought back against the police, trigger public outrage. CCTV video of de los Santos being dragged by plainclothes policemen show the boy did not resist arrest.
Bakit ganun? Pinakasan nila ng ganun na lang yung anak ko na wala silang ebidensya, anak.
By October, Duterte removes the PNP from the war on drugs for the second time. He assigns the Philippine Drug Enforcement Agency as the sole agency in charge, but it was short-lived. Duterte orders the police back in the drug war after a month. The smuggling of 6.4 billion peso or $127.9 million worth of shabu shines the spotlight on corruption at the Bureau of Customs and the allegedly influential Davao Group. Customs fixer Mark Taguba links the Davao Group to Duterte's eldest son, Davao City Vice Mayor Paulo Duterte, and his son-in-law Manasseh Carpio. Both deny the allegations.
Once and for all, I now have the time to deny any and all baseless allegations thrown against me.
In the aftermath of a Senate probe, Customs Commissioner Nicanor Faldon resigns. 3 months after she gets kicked out of the cabinet, Vice President Leni Robredo slams extrajudicial killings in the war on drugs in a video message played on the sidelines of a United Nations event.
Our people feel both hopeless and helpless. You cannot kill addicts and declare the problem solved. The solution is to design the proper health, education, and psychosocial interventions to prevent further drug use and help them transition into productive members of society.
She now fights an election protest filed by former Senator Bongbong Marcos for alleged election fraud. After initiating a probe into the alleged extrajudicial killings in the war on drugs in 2016, Senator Laila de Lima is arrested in February. She was allegedly the mastermind of the illegal drug trade in the National Penitentiary. Duterte's fiercest critic is effectively silenced. Duterte not only pushes back at critics, but also attacks democratic institutions. The president says he will set up a commission to investigate the office of the Ombudsman for alleged corruption after that office began its probe into Duterte's wealth. Overall, Deputy Ombudsman Arthur Carandang says bank transaction records of Duterte and his family from the Anti-Money Laundering Council show a flow of money that would amount to 1 billion pesos. Ombudsman Conchita Carpio Morales tells Duterte her office will not be intimidated. Morales earlier said Duterte can't stop the Office of the Ombudsman from investigating police and soldiers in his war on drugs.
Anong pakialam niya? Under the law, we have subpoena powers.
In December, supporters of Duterte file an impeachment complaint against Morales in the House. The complaint has not been endorsed by any lawmaker. Chief Justice Maria Lourdes Sereno is also facing an impeachment complaint by lawyer Larry Gadon. In an unprecedented move, 4 Supreme Court justices, 3 incumbent and 1 retired, stand as witnesses in the case, revealing deep divisions in the High Court. Sereno insists the allegations against her are personal and administrative matters and not impeachable offenses. Commission on Elections Chairman Andres Bautista submits his resignation letter to Duterte in October, just hours before the House of Representatives votes to impeach him. Bautista is accused of betraying public trust for the 2016 COMELEC hack and for alleged wrong declarations in his statement of assets, liabilities, and net worth. His resignation was triggered by allegations made by his wife, Patricia, who says Bautista has ill-gotten wealth. In 2017, pro-Duterte bloggers gained positions in government. Duterte appoints Mocha Uson as Communications Assistant Secretary, while RJ Nieto, who also writes as Thinking Pinoy, is hired as a Foreign Affairs Department consultant on migrant workers' affairs in July. After criticism, he eventually asks to end his consultancy deal in October. Both Uson and Nieto are invited by Senator Grace Poe to a Senate committee hearing on disinformation and fake news. Despite spreading erroneous claims, Uson claims to be a victim of fake news. Despite joining government, Uson says she doesn't have to be fair in her social media posts.
Senator, with all due respect, hindi
Yes
po
or
ako
no?
journalist.
Yes or no? May isang beses ba na humingi ka ng side namin?
Vlogger po ako, hindi po ako journalist.
French pharmaceutical giant Sanofi Pasteur says its dengue vaccine, Dengvaxia, could lead to more severe cases of the illness when given to people not previously infected by the virus. The health department suspends its vaccination program in several regions in the Philippines because of Sanofi's announcement. Former President Benigno Aquino, during a Senate hearing in December, defends his administration's decision to rush the procurement of the 3.5 billion pesos worth of dengue vaccine in 2015.
Maybe just state for the record, what we had then was none of this warning that happened in November 2017.
Yes, sir.
The biggest crisis to hit Duterte's presidency happens in May. For the first time ever, Filipinos who pledged allegiance to ISIS attempt a takeover of Marawi City. Duterte cut short his official visit to Russia and imposes martial law in Mindanao. The fighting is fierce. Government forces have a difficult time penetrating the terrorists' defensive positions. Eventually, government forces killed the Mauta brothers and Abu Sayyaf leader Isnilon Hapilon and free dozens of hostages, including Marawi priest Father Chito Soganub. After 5 months of fighting, Marawi City is devastated and liberated. Left-leaning groups challenged Duterte's martial law declaration before the Supreme Court, but the High Court in December upholds with finality Duterte's martial law declaration. Duterte, for the second time, asks Congress to extend martial law in Mindanao for another year, this time from January 1, 2018 to December 31, 2018. The reason? A lingering terror threat in Mindanao, as well as the armed insurgency of the New People's Army. Duterte cancels peace talks with the communists in November and declares them a terrorist group. He also orders the arrest of National Democratic Front consultants, including alleged top NPA leaders Benito and Wilma Chamson, after their bail bonds are canceled. In 2017, the Philippines hosts the 50th year of the Association of Southeast Asian Nations, or the ASEAN Summit. As chairman, Duterte drops his gutter language and tries his diplomatic skills. He says terrorism and violent extremism are threats that know no boundaries, and points to piracy and armed robbery in the seas as a hindrance to economic growth. True to form, Duterte puts the spotlight on ASEAN's illegal drug problem. Still, the biggest shift in ASEAN is the Philippines' pivot to China in its foreign affairs policy. The Philippines, Southeast Asia's strongest voice against China's aggression in the South China Sea, has become its good friend. This is best reflected in ASEAN chairman's statements that take a softer stance against China's aggression. Duterte and U.S. President Donald Trump bond over a shared dislike of former American President Barack Obama. In 2016, Obama criticized Duterte's war on drugs. This was followed by Duterte announcing he was separating from the United States. Duterte and Trump also build rapport during the ASEAN Gala dinner, where Trump urges Duterte to sing.
I sang uninvited a duet with Ms. Pilita Corrales upon the orders of the Commander-in-Chief of the United States.
The ASEAN summit also highlights Metro Manila's worsening traffic. Ordinary Filipinos are stuck on the road for hours because of road closures. Metro Manila's car congestion is compounded by a clash with ride-hailing companies Uber and Grab. The Land Transportation Franchising and Regulatory Board in July imposes a 5 million peso fine on the two global companies for defying its order not to accept new drivers. That triggers an online backlash against the LTFRB. Despite this, the agency suspends Uber in August after it continued to accept new drivers. Uber asks the LTFRB to change the penalty into a fine. LTFRB concedes, and Uber pays a 190 million peso fine. The agency also directs Uber to pay 299.24 million pesos to its drivers during the days they were not allowed to operate. Metro Manila's mass transportation problems continue in 2017 with near daily breakdowns of the MRT-3. In November, a train car of the MRT-3 detaches from the body, forcing passengers to walk along the tracks, and a woman's arm is severed after she falls in between the trains. Some of Duterte's cabinet appointees face a difficult time getting past the powerful Commission on Appointments, or CA.
The information about allegedly my having an American passport, given that particular number, came from a media outfit known as Rappler.
You never held that passport?
Yes. As far as I know, personal knowledge, I never held any American passport.
In February, then Foreign Secretary Perfecto Yasay lies under oath about his American citizenship. By March, the Commission on Appointments rejects his appointment. 2 months later, former Environment Secretary Gina Lopez is also rejected by the CA. This after she ordered the closing of 23 mines and the suspension of 5 others. She punctuates her rejection with a song.
Let it go, you'll never see me cry.
2 of Duterte's leftist appointees are also rejected by the CA. Former Social Welfare Secretary Judy Taguiwalo and former Agrarian Reform Secretary Rafael Mariano. CA then rejects former Health Secretary Pauline Ubial over her management of PhilHealth and the delay of procurement for the controversial Dengvaxia vaccine. In September, headlines are dominated by the hazing death of University of Santo Tomas Faculty of Civil Law freshman Horacio Castillo III. 17 people, including Aegis Juris officers and members, face criminal complaints. Another Aegis Juris member, Mark Ventura, becomes state witness. He says Castillo was severely beaten until his muscles swelled. In January, Republican billionaire Donald Trump is sworn in as the 45th President of the United States. But his presidency is hounded by controversy after American intelligence agencies say Russia meddled in the U.S. election. Trump denies colluding with Russia. He appoints former Federal Bureau of Investigation Chief Robert Mueller as special prosecutor to investigate alleged Russian interference. In December, Mueller indicts former National Security Advisor Michael Flynn for lying about his meeting with Russian officials in 2016. Trump calls the Russia probe a political witch hunt. At the same time, Trump starts a word war with North Korean leader Kim Jong-un over Pyongyang's missile tests and nuclear program. North Korea fires more than 20 missiles in 2017, prompting Trump to threaten Pyongyang.
North Korea best not make any more threats to the United States. They will be met with fire and fury.
North Korea, in response, sentences Trump to death. Kim says Trump is, quote, mentally deranged. Britain's Prince Harry and American actress Meghan Markle announced their engagement in November after dating for about a year. Harry and Meghan's royal wedding is set for May 2018. Myanmar leader Nobel Prize laureate Aung San Suu Kyi faces condemnation over her silence in the Rohingya crisis. The United Nations calls the Burmese army's ongoing campaign against the Rohingya Muslim people in the Rakhine state a textbook example of ethnic cleansing. In December, the UN Commission on Human Rights says she may face genocide charges over the thousands of deaths that resulted in the Burmese military's clearing operations. Hollywood is forced to confront its rampant sexual harassment culture following allegations against disgraced film mogul Harvey Weinstein. A New York Times report details the accusations of rape and sexual harassment against Weinstein by several women. More women eventually add their charges, including Mira Sorvino, Rose McGowan, Angelina Jolie, and Gwyneth Paltrow. The resulting public uproar spreads across industries and inspires #MeToo, where women all over the globe speak up about their experiences of sexual harassment. In 2017, democracy around the world suffered a setback. A Freedom House report says 30 of 65 countries are using online armies of opinion shapers to spread government views and drive particular agendas. In each of the 30 countries, it found strong indications that individuals are paid to distort the digital information landscape in the government's favor. The manipulation of opinion was used to meddle in elections, advance anti-democratic agendas, and repress its citizens. The report also says a keyboard army of paid online commenters supports President Rodrigo Duterte and attacks critics of his administration. The Freedom House report says a paid commenter earns between 500 pesos to 3,000 pesos daily. It also says automated accounts or bots, as well as volunteers, are used to spread political content. Communications Secretary Martin Andanar denies the report. As we leave 2017 behind, Rappler joins the rest of the nation as we face a new year in a radically changing world. We renew our pledge to ask the critical questions and hold those in power accountable. We renew our commitment to free and fearless journalism. I'm Maria Ressa. Thank you for joining us this year, and we hope you continue to inspire courage in 2018. Happy New Year.